Climbing the credit card ladder is a fantastic way to make sure that you're getting the right credit cards based on what stage or what credit card tier that you're currently in. And climbing the credit card ladder can transform your credit card journey from getting some of those low tier cards with minimal benefits to getting some of those high tier premium travel cards like the American Express Platinum and Chase Sapphire Reserve. But here's the thing, despite the benefits, I think climbing the credit card ladder can be the wrong choice. And in this video, I'm going to get into 3 reasons for why that is the case. Real quick, before we get into the video, if you do enjoy watching videos just like this one, then make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss out on future videos. Okay, so before we can talk about the downsides and the 3 reasons for why you might want to avoid climbing the credit card ladder, let's first discuss what climbing the credit card ladder even means. The credit card ladder is essentially a system of 5 different credit card tiers that range from starter, credit builder, and college cards all the way up to luxury premium travel cards. So the whole point of climbing the credit card ladder is to get credit cards that most closely align with where you're at in your credit card journey, meaning that if you were just starting out, you might get cards like the Discover It Cashback or the Chase Freedom Student. As you start to learn more and build your credit card strategy, or in other words, climb the credit card ladder, you might get cards like the Chase Sapphire Preferred or American Express Gold. And as you become more seasoned in your credit card strategy, you might opt for some of those higher tier cards like the American Express Platinum, Capital One Venture Rex, or Chase Sapphire Reserve. The rationale for why climbing the credit card ladder is a very practical strategy is because, first of all, it's going to give you the best chance of getting approved when you consistently apply for credit cards that fall under the tier that you're currently in. And climbing the credit card ladder is also going to help you build the length of your credit history when you start out with some of those low fee, zero downside cards first, and then go up from there. Additionally, when you are climbing the credit card ladder, you're usually going to get lower credit limits with some of those lower tier cards. And then your credit limits will likely be higher as you start to make progress and get some of those higher tier cards, which will be important because having credit limits that directly correlate to the current tier that you're in is going to progressively help you understand how to manage the different credit cards that you have and overall help you avoid getting into credit card debt. Another reason that climbing the credit card ladder is seen by many as a great strategy is because having to start from the bottom but then work your way up across the different credit card tiers is going to help you understand how to get value from different credit cards that have different benefits and different annual fees, such as in Tier 1 and Tier 2, maximizing those no annual fee credit cards like the Chase Freedom Flex and City Custom Cash for specific use cases in your setup, and then understanding how to utilize different benefits and credits that you might get on higher tier cards, such as on the American Express Platinum or Chase Sapphire Reserve, where you have to use some of those credits and benefits to get positive value. Ultimately, climbing the credit card ladder is a fantastic way to transform your credit card journey from getting some of those low credit limit, low fee cards with minimal benefits to working your way up to high tier cards like the Amex Platinum and Chase Sapphire Reserve that have a ton of benefits. With that said, I think climbing the credit card ladder is going to be highly restrictive and just flat out wrong for a lot of people, and here's why. The first reason that climbing the credit card ladder is going to be the wrong choice is because instead of prioritizing the credit card tier, I think we should instead be prioritizing the credit card ecosystem. I totally get the validity with wanting to start with low tier cards first, so you can increase the length of your credit history and get more comfortable with managing all of your credit cards. However, credit card issuers have different rules that can end up being really restrictive if you get too caught up with only getting credit cards in the specific tier that you're currently in, and instead prioritizing credit cards within ecosystems that most closely align with your credit card strategy is going to be what allows you to maximize your potential value. To give you an example, let's say that you start up your credit card journey by strictly following the rules of climbing the credit card ladder. And so your first 5 credit cards are Tier 1 or Tier 2 cards, which include some credit builder and student cards, as well as some of those no annual fee Tier 2 cards that are focused on cash back. In theory, this is a good strategy because you are only focusing on getting credit cards that closely align with the current tier that you're in, and you can build the length of your credit history by getting some of those no annual fee credit cards first. But what this doesn't account for is some of the different rules and restrictions that specific credit card issuers have. So if you follow that strategy of having your first 5 credit cards be Tier 1 or Tier 2 cards, then because of the Chase 524 rule, which means that you will not be approved for a new Chase credit card if you've applied for 5 or more personal cards in the last 24 months. You would be locked into Chase jail and you would have to delay getting some of the Chase credit cards that you wanted, such as getting the Sapphire Preferred or Sapphire Reserve to complete your Chase trifecta. This is actually exactly what happened to me, and I had to wait an additional 6 months to get my Chase Sapphire Preferred, which meant that I wasn't able to take advantage of any travel redemptions with my Chase points during that waiting period. Additionally, in my own personal experience, I've gotten denial letters from Citi saying that I had too many open accounts. So if a card like the Citi Premier, which is technically a Tier 3 card as well, is on your list of credit cards that you want, then I would recommend getting this card pretty early on as well, since Citi tends to be pretty restrictive and sensitive to credit inquiries. Ultimately, I just don't think it should be as black and white as climbing the credit card ladder can sometimes be, in the sense that you're in this specific tier, so you have to get these specific credit cards. In reality, I think there's a lot of gray area in terms of what credit cards you should get and when, and a lot of that depends on what credit card ecosystems align with your credit card strategy and what rules and restrictions that they have. The second reason that climbing the credit card ladder could be the wrong choice for you is because I think strictly following the principle of climbing the credit card ladder is going to limit you from getting the best welcome bonuses at the right time. So just like how benefits and credit limits typically increase as you go up the credit card ladder, the same goes for welcome bonuses in terms of the value from those bonuses typically being higher, and the spend requirements in order to get those bonuses being higher as well. So my argument here for why climbing the credit card ladder could be wrong and what you should do instead is that you should not base what credit card you should get based on what credit card tier that you're currently in, and instead you should base that decision on your spending habits and what welcome bonuses would make the most sense. Welcome bonuses are the quickest way to accumulate a significant amount of credit card points, and unfortunately the welcome bonuses on tier 1 and tier 2 cards are usually either completely non-existent or relatively small. So something like $200 cash back, and the spend requirements are usually a lot lower as well, like $500 to $1,500. Whereas the welcome bonuses for some of those higher tier cards can be worth thousands of dollars in value, and these spend requirements can range from like $3,000 to like $8,000. Obviously, I'm not recommending that you just go out and get the American Express Platinum as your first credit card just because it has a high welcome bonus, but I also don't want people to feel like they can't go for a higher tier card that has a higher welcome bonus when they have increased spend, just because that card falls outside of the tier that they're currently in. As an example, let's say that you're currently in tier 2, so you've already gotten some tier 1 credit builder and starter cards, and you've been building up your credit score, which now sits at over 700. And let's say that you typically keep your spending pretty low, but over the next year, you're gonna have significantly increased spending because you're getting married, so you're gonna have those higher wedding expenses. Well, if your spending is typically pretty low, then a high spend requirement like the $8,000 minimum spend for the welcome bonus on the American Express Platinum might normally feel pretty unattainable, but since you were getting married in a year, you have increased spending, and this is exactly when you want to take advantage of getting high welcome bonuses with high spend requirements. So in this scenario, I think you should absolutely apply for some of those higher tier credit cards that have higher welcome bonuses, and obviously the welcome bonus is just one factor, so you want to make sure that you'll get value out of the benefits on that credit card as well, but you can always come back to those tier 2 or tier 3 credit cards when your increased spending period is over. And overall, just like my previous point of prioritizing the credit card ecosystem, prioritizing welcome bonuses and getting credit cards based off your spending habits, I think is a more fluid way to look at your credit card journey and the credit cards that you're prioritizing, as opposed to the rigidity that sometimes comes with climbing the credit card ladder. Finally, the last reason that climbing the credit card ladder could be the wrong choice is because it doesn't take into account travel preferences and brand loyalty. As I've mentioned throughout this video, the whole point of climbing the credit card ladder is to apply for credit cards that align with the current credit card tier that you're in. But when you strictly follow climbing the credit card ladder, you might neglect to take into account other important factors, such as your spending preferences that I just discussed, as well as your travel preferences and if you have brand loyalty to specific hotels or airlines. The more often that you travel, the more common that it would be to develop some sort of travel loyalty, which could be based off some of the positive experiences that you've had, or even just for feasibility purposes, such as your home airport being a place where there's a major airline hub, or traveling to specific hotels on work trips, or maybe there's a travel partner that only exists within specific ecosystems that you use the most frequently. So as an example, let's say that you got started with credit cards a little bit later in life, so you're in your 30s and you have a family, but you have minimal experience with credit cards and you've only been building your credit score over the last 2 years. So right now you're in tier 2 of the credit card ladder. However, with that said, whenever you travel with your family, you always stay at Hilton hotels. And whenever you travel for work, you stay at Hilton properties as well. So you would consider yourself to be a Hilton loyalist. Well, if you are a Hilton loyalist, then the best credit card to take advantage of all that spend at Hilton properties is going to be the Hilton Aspire. And that'll allow you to also get Hilton Diamond status and other Hilton specific benefits as well. However, despite the Hilton Aspire being the credit card that would best fit in with your travel preferences, according to strictly following the credit card ladder, you shouldn't get the Hilton Aspire because it falls outside of your credit tier range, and you should instead stick with tier 2 cashback credit cards. I disagree with this because I think in this situation, it would be perfectly fine for you to apply for the Hilton Aspire and get that additional fluidity and flexibility in your credit card journey. Additionally, to give you a personal example of how travel partners can help guide what credit cards you should get based on your travel preferences, I personally travel on the airline Aeromexico pretty frequently. My wife Lucia is Mexican, so we love to travel across different parts of Mexico, and I love in general traveling to Spanish-speaking countries because I'm conversational in Spanish, but I would love to someday be fluent. And so if I then take a look at the credit card ecosystems that have Aeromexico as a travel partner, you can transfer Citi, Capital One, and American Express points out to Aeromexico. However, with American Express, you can transfer your points out to Aeromexico at a 1 to 1.6 ratio, meaning that 1,000 American Express points would equal 1,600 Aeromexico points. So instead of just strictly following the credit card ladder, I should instead prioritize American Express as a credit card ecosystem, since I do get a lot of value out of using Aeromexico as a travel partner. As a different example, if you had travel loyalty to a hotel brand like Hyatt, then it would make sense to prioritize Chase credit cards since Hyatt is a transfer partner for Chase. Ultimately, I think your travel preferences need to play an important role for how you're constructing your credit card setup, and not just whatever credit cards fall into the credit card tier that you're currently in. In conclusion, all three of my reasons for why you might want to avoid climbing the credit card ladder are due to limitations and restrictions, and climbing the credit card ladder can still be effective if you use it fluidly and as a guide, but not super rigidly without accounting for other factors like your spending preferences, your travel preferences, and the credit card ecosystem. But if you did get value from this video, then I think you'll like this video where I go over 7 credit card hacks that no one really knows about. Thank you all so much for watching this video, and I hope you all have a great rest of your day.